The year is 1991, and one of the greatest shoujo finally debuts on the manga world. And then, next up in 1992, we see the greatest shoujo anime ever created showcase itself and take the world by storm. And Sailor Moon is here and is taking over the world. Be it no exaggeration when I say that Sailor Moon is the greatest shoujo to ever be created. Take no joke, take no heed if you wish. Sailor Moon is one of the greatest animes created, and it deserves to be within anyone's top 10 if we're doing a definitive list. Sailor Moon is also one of those animes that first introduced me to anime. My first ever anime was actually a shoujo, and it was Sailor Moon. And Sailor Moon is just what everyone needed at that time to take the world by storm. The mix of city pop, powers, fights, all sorts of incredible things were packed into Sailor Moon, and it's beloved. It's probably one of the first anime shirts I've ever owned in my entire life because I adore Sailor Moon.
Guess she flunked out.
Generating over 35 million in sales, Sailor Moon is the queen of shoujo. And without a doubt, it has sold 13 billion worldwide. Without a doubt, Sailor Moon is never going to end, never going to die, and it continues to hold a legacy that will never be forgotten. And if you didn't know about Sailor Moon, it's time to have a conversation. Written by Naoka Takeuchi, this woman is God. She created something that forever lives on, and it didn't even have a lot of seasons. It didn't even last that long if I think about it relatively. The influence of Sailor Moon continues to go out there when you think about like magical girls. That concept is still far reaching and seemingly always shows up in anime. There's always all sorts of jokes about it. There's all sorts of references. And I think we need to really start talking about how incredible Sailor Moon was for its anime, for its aspects, a lot of the coolness within the show.
No, yo. Yossha!
Sailor Moon was one of those shows where it decided to show us a bit of a teenager. It showed us a teenager that was actually a teenager, not just a kid that was just a little bit older. It showed us a natural teenager with boy interests, love interests, all sorts of fashion interests. It was a shoujo that was wholly shoujo, but this was a shoujo that had fights, that had intrigue, that had tragedy, had all sorts of amazing things. Sailor Moon never failed to surprise me with the way it wanted to make us feel something, made us want to be a part of a story that held so much weight. And I love the desperation, I love the powers, and I love how it felt like an anime that just wanted to be so cool. It was just cool. Like, there's no other word to describe Sailor Moon other than cool. And especially, it made being a girl cool. It made the powers, the love, all that stuff so incredibly cool. And I love the transformation. That is one of the most synonymous things with Sailor Moon. The overdrawn out transformations. I genuinely cannot stop loving Sailor Moon and seeing a lot of its influences.
Excellent. The cocoa is perfect.
One of the reasons Sailor Moon stands the test of time because it was such a marker for what Japan was, the mix of city pop, the changing of guard, that bit of westernization. There's so many different aspects that was within Sailor Moon that definitely showcased the 90s for Japan. And you can learn so much about the fashion, so many of the ideas, a lot of the jokes, and where civilization back then was heading. And Sailor Moon is a time capsule into a time where there was such a mix. It showcased the beauty of a girly girl, the mix of the Japanese culture, the interest in westernized fashion. Like, a lot of this stuff, Sailor Moon really does transport you to a time before you, because I was born in 1997, and I look at this anime and I just remember my mom like wearing some of these outfits, or at least having some of those fits. And like, one thing I really do appreciate about like older anime, they did fashion when they did try to draw fashion. They did fashion in such a cool and very relatable way, and a lot of animes were not necessarily into it. I love that these shows had different outfits, they had their own superpowers, they had their own just aesthetics. Like Sailor Moon is genuinely one of the coolest animes that I am glad I got to watch as a kid and experience. I had the mangas. I just adored the inspiration of creativity, and it was so authentically itself, and it was groundbreaking in what it did. Sailor Moon should not be just viewed as just a shoujo. I just put it because it is one of the greatest shoujos ever created, but Sailor Moon can stand with the Hunter x Hunters. It can stand with some of these other animes that are heralded as some of the best animes ever created or mangas ever created. Sailor Moon is a definitive statement of an art style that is taking the world by storm, the forefront of everyone's world. There's a lot of anime that are able to quintessentially capture a time, and Sailor Moon is just one of those animes. Sailor Moon is also one of those animes that you will never fail to see out in the wild. You'll never fail to hear someone at least mention it when you start talking about shoujo, romance, and all sorts of other things. And Sailor Moon was able to capture so many different themes that was able to transcend and bend. I'm starting to realize a trend within some of the greatest animes ever created. They have a respective genre, of course, and they do very well within that genre, but they also bend, they meld, they have so much fashionable ideals. JoJo's is one of those things that are able to do such thing, and then Hunter x Hunter is one of those other animes that now we look back and we see, wow, they really did touch the world and give a lot of their creativity to all of us, and we're appreciating that. To be able to be as far-reaching as Sailor Moon is one of the most incredible things. And a lot of the references throughout all sorts of shows, TV shows, Western TV shows, there's so many times where I think, wow, I can't believe I'm getting to see a world post Sailor Moon. This anime is probably one of the animes that definitely kicked off a bit of a resurgence of shoujo during back in the 1900s. That's super crazy to say. And the early 2000s, even into the late 2010s. There was so much emphasis on being girly and having people appreciate these stories because shoujo was probably looked down upon. And there's a genuinely interesting history when you look back on how shoujo has transformed, how it's become more mainstream. And Sailor Moon is a part of that DNA. There's no way you can't look at Sailor Moon and how I know a lot of guys that loved Sailor Moon. It wasn't necessarily a gender thing. It was more of people were now being excited and universally appreciated something that was typically viewed only simply for women. Sailor Moon is without a doubt one of my favorite animes I've ever gotten to experience within my life. The influence, the coolness. I can sing that song. I remember those other poses. Like, I do remember all these things, especially growing up as a child. I used to think the fights were pretty cool also because they used to really throw hands. And then the outfits. I keep gushing over Sailor Moon, but this is one of those animes that, like, if you're someone that really enjoys the genre of anime, you enjoy what it does, what it's continuing to do, I think you should check it out. Sailor Moon's influence will never not be felt throughout the world of anime, and if you get a chance, just watch it through. Go see what was bubbling in the 1900s and go appreciate that. But anyway, have a great day. Thank you for watching, and go appreciate Sailor Moon. For real, for real.